there was a countdown earlier, like right before 10. Well, right now it says live. I see a little thing that says live. It says 0 viewers. So, there we are.
Yay. Okay, so I'm going to hold on.
There was a countdown earlier. Like, so, there's an echo. I see a little thing that says live.
Yeah. Wait, can I not hear you right now? So,
can you hear me?
I'm going to hold on.
There was a countdown earlier. I hear myself, though, right now, which is weird.
Oh, okay. Wait. All right. I can't watch the live apparently through this. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, if anybody's watching, I can't really tell right now. Looks like there's a couple people on. Say hi, guys. I'm going to try and watch it from my phone. If anyone has any comments or questions about WordCamp, go ahead and put them in the comment section. So I'll go ahead and just get started then. So hello, good morning, everybody. I have with me Ali Nimmons, my very, very dear friend and partner in crime sometimes. She's going to talk to us today about WordCamp and all the cool things that you can do at WordCamp. And I'm really excited to hear about this because honestly, before we started talking about it, I kind of thought it was just for developers and maybe web designers sometimes. So I'm excited to learn more about what WordCamp can offer us as business owners in general and what you have to say about it. So I'll hand it over to you and let you take over.
Awesome. Yeah, I have the chat open on my phone, muted. So if anyone has questions, looks like Ryan says hello. Hello, Ryan. And Kyra is here. Awesome. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about WordCamp or about anything that I say, just throw them in the comments, like Megan said. So basically, if you don't know what a WordCamp is, they're usually very small, maybe about 300 people, which when you have people spaced out in a space, 300 people actually seems really small. But it's a conference. Typically centered around WordPress, which is the world's most popular website builder tool. You've probably heard of WordPress before. If you have a business, if you have a website, it's probably come up if you don't have a WordPress site already. So these WordCamps were started as a way for people to get together and talk about WordPress, but they really have evolved. And so I was chatting with Megan just about how I believe anyone who owns a business should go to a WordCamp. Because basically what you have are different tracks. So usually they take place at like a university. So you'll have maybe 3 or 4 different classrooms and each one is a track. So in one room, you'll have like a developer's track where you just have development-based talks or talks about code and things like that. But you'll also have tracks based in design and like how design fuels marketing and branding, like a lot of the stuff that gets talked about in this group. You'll sometimes even have a specifically like branding or marketing centered track. There's what other kind of tracks are there? It usually kind of stays within those areas. So like development, design, marketing, and then a lot of times you'll have panels, which can be about anything. So this past weekend, actually, I went to WordCamp Orlando and I spoke on the panel about ethics and the internet. So just a big conversation about how ethics play into the way that we use the internet. And we talked about like facial recognition software and terms of use on social media and like all kinds of stuff. So even if you don't touch the development track at all, there will be something for you at any given time. So all the tracks are running at once. So typically it's like, okay, you get there, it's like 9 o'clock. You have 3 or 4 different tracks that you could choose to go to. And then after that track, you can leave and go to another one. And if you are in a track and halfway through you decide that this actually doesn't really apply to you or you don't need this information, there is no stigma. You can get up and leave and nobody will be offended. So yeah, there's the tracks, there's panels. Most of the camps, well, I should say all of the camps are sponsored by a lot of the larger companies that you hear of. So like primarily hosting companies, but also a lot of like security companies, like Sakuri is a big one. And they will have booths set up in a part of the camp. So what's great is I've seen people who it's like, oh, I host my site with Bluehost and I've been having a lot of problems. There's Bluehost booth here, I can go and talk to people that actually work at Bluehost and get help. Or maybe you host with Bluehost and you don't want to host with them anymore. You want to host with SiteGround. And so you're kind of shopping around. You can go to the SiteGround booth and get information from them. And it's a really great way to directly access a lot of these companies and like ask questions and get information that might be harder to get off their website. Most of the camps have something called the happiness bar, which I think is an amazing idea. And I think a lot of the camps actually need to do it better, because it's actually just a big room where, say, like me and Megan go to a WordCamp together. We can sit in there, and if somebody has a question about branding, they can come in and talk to Megan. And if somebody has a question about, I don't know, one of the things that I do, they can come and talk to me about it. And if I have a question about branding, I can go in there and talk to Megan about it. Or if Megan has a question about, I don't know, SEO, she can go and talk to an SEO expert. So it's a place specifically for people to trade knowledge and trade information. A lot of times you'll have people who are like, oh, I'm trying to set up a WordPress site and I'm having some problems. Can someone help me? And you team up with someone in the happiness bar and you get free, I mean, you're paying for your ticket to WordCamp, but basically free one-on-one help and attention. So I feel like that's extremely valuable for a business owner to get that free help on whatever topic, because the people that are there know about all sorts of things. And you might find yourself actually helping somebody else out because you have skills that you can offer as well. So it's a very educational give and take sort of environment. What I really love about the camps is that it is technically a conference. I guess they call them conferences. But it is the least pretentious, like professional, like when you think of networking, it is not like that at all. It is extremely laid back. Like people are not there in like suits and ties and like, you know, that sort of mentality. It's extremely laid back, like sandals and t-shirt type of environment. And people genuinely make friends with each other. So for example, I live in South Florida, so you may not know, but we have a hurricane coming our way this weekend. And somebody that I've met and encountered at maybe 2 or 3 WordCamps now, and we've stayed in touch via Twitter, he just reached out to me and he said, hey, I live in Sarasota, which is on the other side of Florida. If you and your fiance need to evacuate and you need a place to stay, like we have a guest room, like please don't hesitate if you need a place to go. So like you definitely get out of it what you put in. And I've been trying this year specifically to really cultivate a lot of these friendships that I made. But the people who are there to make connections, not to look at you and say like, okay, what can you give me professionally? Or like, what benefit can I get out of knowing you in a professional mindset? It is definitely more of a, hey, let's all make friends and learn from each other. And like, if that turns into a professional connection, that's great, but it's not what people's first thought is when going. So I feel like people kind of get, not afraid, but people are hesitant to go to things like this because they're afraid, like, I don't know as much, or, you know, I'm not good at networking. I'm an introvert. Like a lot of us are very introverted. These events are put on by introverts, and they will tell you that first and foremost. So a lot of the camps have a quiet room, which is just exactly what it sounds like. It's a room where you can go if you're feeling overwhelmed and just chill. If you have something you need to do for your business that you need to step away and maybe deal with a client emergency or something like that, there's a room where you can go and do that and not be bothered. A lot of these WordCamps stem from local meetups. So for example, where I am in South Florida, there's a Fort Lauderdale meetup and there's a Miami meetup. And they're basically mini WordCamps where it's maybe like 2 hours, twice a month at a university somewhere, and you meet up with a bunch of other people. Usually they'll have somebody there talking about a particular topic. Like I spoke a couple weeks ago about plugins and WordPress, like how to shop for plugins, how to install them, how to troubleshoot them. I'm speaking next week at another meetup about how to network at a WordCamp as an introvert, like I was just talking about. And they're completely free to attend. WordCamps are usually about, I think the cap that they can charge for a WordCamp is $50 a ticket. Usually they're closer to like 35, 40, but the meetups are free. So what's great about WordCamps is like if you go to a local WordCamp, you'll be able to get information about your local meetup. And a lot of the people who go to the WordCamps also go to the meetup. So it's an extension of that, which kind of funnels you into this other community of people that you can meet up with regularly and get information and ask questions. A lot of the camps have workshops that are more hands-on. That's something that's very new that's happening. I'm going to be attending WordCamp US in a couple of months, and the workshop that I'm working on there is about creating more inclusive and diverse spaces, which is not at all a development topic. Like it has pretty much nothing to do with WordPress or building websites or anything, but we've noticed this problem in our community that we have basically a lot of straight white men who are dominating the space, and we want more women, we want more people of color, we want people from all sorts of backgrounds. So I'm working on this workshop where we give people actionable steps to make their conference, their workplace, whatever, more inclusive and welcoming. So you get a lot of workshops like that, which are just not really something that you would expect, but something that might benefit you in some way. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on also, I was just checking to see if we had any questions. O'Brien says, I love that. Too often I run into people who are purely only in it for the give and take. For me, I don't keep score. I want to help people grow and succeed. So you would fit in perfectly at a WordCamp, because that definitely is the mentality of helping other people, but then also not being afraid to ask for help when you need it. The last point I wanted to bring up was the kids camps. So if you have a child and they are in any way curious or interested in coding or development, parallel to the camp, so like while you're attending your tracks, they have a kids camp, which is, I've never actually poked my head in because I don't have any kids, but they work with them, they teach them. I think it changes per camp what it is that they learn, but I do know that every camp they get to build a site. And usually one of the hosting sponsors will donate hosting for the kids to be able to spin up their own WordPress website and build whatever they want on it, which is really, really, really cool. And there are kids that go like that. Somebody was telling me like they've seen kids growing up, like coming to the kids camp every single year and like getting better and getting more involved and getting more invested. And that's really, really awesome, because it's also like, a lot of people have kids and it's like, all right, well, if I go to this thing, what do I do with my kid? And so if they have an interest, it's a great place to bring them. As well as childcare just in general is getting to be a thing in WordCamps. WordCamp US is going to be the first WordCamp this year that has childcare available. And a lot of the camps are trying to start to work that into their budget, so it's easier for people to go. So it's not just a conference of, we're here to make connections. We're here to make connections, but we also really want to foster a welcoming environment. There is a WordCamp every single weekend, at least one, somewhere around the world. So if you go to central.wordcamp.com, you can find the closest one to you. It might be a little bit of a drive, but I mean, we have people coming. I've been to camps where people have come from other countries, where people have come from other states. And made that trip and made it a priority. So I would really encourage everyone to find the camp that's near them, at least a meetup, because the meetups are free. You, if anything, you waste 2 hours, but you probably won't. And yeah, are there any other, Megan, do you have any questions to?
No, you provided so much great information. I just want to like put out there that this is a great opportunity for people in actually an exercise in finding opportunity in things that don't seem like they might be where you should be, because at the surface level it seems like it's just for developers, designers, it's more for the WordPress world. But I mean, what is it, like 70% of websites are built on WordPress, so that means most entrepreneurs are using WordPress or involved in that world in some way, and this is like a fantastic way to network with people, and different business owners. So even if you're a copywriter, you can still get a lot of value out of going. And if there are a lot of designers and developers, I can tell you that they're probably not great at copywriting. So you will probably make a ton of friends. So, and then the whole childcare thing, I'm so happy that they're incorporating that. Like, our world is changing. both parents are working, and we shouldn't have to sacrifice our careers and our networking and all that just because we can't find a babysitter. And, I like that our world is becoming a little bit more friendly towards children and people who have children, because like, we got them. You keep wanting to have them. Can we have help so that we can like go do other things too? Like, it's a community. Yeah. And I think that's amazing. And like you were telling me, if there's not one near you, it's relatively easy to start your own WordCamp, right?
Well, it's relatively easy to start your own meetup, I'll say, because the meetup is like a monthly or bi-monthly commitment of a couple hours. Usually people get like pizza or something, and if you can find someone to give a talk, that'll take up an hour. And then I know one of my local organizers for my local meetup, every meetup, he does, I think it's called 9 Things You Should Know in WordPress. And he just kind of gives a summary of the latest news in the WordPress community, like things that are happening or things you should be aware of. So, but then there's also time for like people to talk and network and get their questions answered and things like that. So if you wanted to start a meetup, let's see, how to start a WordPress meetup. I know all of them use,
sorry.
I know all of them use, if you go to make.wordpress.org, you'll be able to find some information there, because they do provide support for people who try to do this. So like, for example, I know that all of the meetups have a page on meetup.com, which makes it easier for people to find you. And wordpress.org helps you to facilitate that. And I think they cover the cost of having that. And just providing you with resources and things like that. The WordCamp itself, I would not say that it's easy to start one. It is a huge thing that they spend 6 months planning. Like our WordCamp for Miami is in February, and we are just talking about starting planning. So you have like a whole team of organizers and volunteers that put it together. What I would say is that if you want to start a local meetup, definitely go ahead and do that. And then try to connect with your local camp and see if they need volunteers or see if they need help organizing. That really is the easiest way to get involved. Because, they need volunteers to just, set up a registration table or, just put signs up. Like, it's super, super, super easy. It's not like we need you to design the whole website. We just need people to help put it up. And it's a really great community thing to do, and you meet people in your community that you wouldn't have ordinarily met. I also forgot to mention that typically WordCamps will have an after party. So typically you have like the Fridays workshops, then Saturday and Sunday are the actual tracks, and usually on the Saturday or sometimes the Sunday, they'll have an after party where you can go to another location like a restaurant, and there'll be if not an open bar, maybe a discounted bar and food, which is a really great opportunity to like wind down. And a lot of people who are introverts find it a little bit difficult, but if you are definitely the kind of person who's like, I like sitting and talking over food and drinks and stuff like that, that's also another opportunity for you to connect with people. But yeah, circling back to the meetup thing, definitely, if there's not one near you, look into starting one. And even if it just starts off with you and like 3 other people, that's totally fine, because you as a small group are gaining and getting benefit from that.
So yeah, if you're on a budget, I feel like the WordCamp is probably the best networking opportunity for you, because who gets for what, $50? You get like 3 days and an after party.
Mm-hmm. And usually lunches are included. On the Saturday and Sunday, they'll give you lunch. Sometimes on Sundays, every camp does it a little bit different, depending on what they can kind of afford or what they can spring for that year. So for example, Orlando, which was last weekend, there's usually coffee all day, which is important. They had coffee, they gave us lunch on Saturday and Sunday, and there was a networking brunch on Sunday in addition to the after party. So it is I don't know how they do it for the cost that they charge, because it is really, really cheap. You get a lot of swag too. Like the sponsors will bring like stickers and tote bags. And like, here, I have a collection of stickers from WordCamp
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
that I'm starting. And so like every year I'm gonna like fill a board with stickers. It's just like a fun thing. And I don't know. They make it really, really fun more than anything else. You know what I mean? Yeah. We have any other questions?
I don't know. It seems like it's really grown a lot. I mean, I feel like I've heard about it throughout the years, but this is like probably the first year that I've really heard. I mean, maybe because I'm talking to you all the time, but like it feels like it's more like they're really making a push to make it more than just,
There are new ones sprouting up every year, like in different cities. And yeah, I think that the more we try to make them inclusive, the more obviously the more people come and then the more people talk about it. So like there are literally handbooks that they have about making sure that you have an inclusive space, like making sure you have wheelchair ramps, making sure that like when I went to WordCamp Miami in March, there was literally a person in every single track who was live typing the talks, and it would come up on a screen so that if you were hard of hearing or had any sort of like hearing problems, you could just read it, like live captioning is what it's called, which I thought was just amazing and so helpful, because you also have a lot of older people that come, and sometimes when you're older can't hear as well. So like to have things like that, it makes it so much easier for people to be like, yeah, I could go and actually get benefit out of this, versus sitting in the back of the room and not being able to hear, and like it's like, okay, what, I just wasted a whole afternoon sort of a thing.
Yeah. It's such a small thing too. Like it's like a small thing to have someone there typing it, like in the grand scheme of things, not a big deal. And like that, it makes all the difference for people though. Just those little things that make it feel like it's meant for them. And I think that's really great that they're trying to do that.
Yeah. Someone said, it's a bummer that you complained about the demographic I am in. Can you,
white male.
I guess so.
Right.
And that's not, I don't think I was complaining. When an environment is too homogenous, when you have too many people who are just kind of one type of person, you don't get different perspectives. You just block yourself off to different ways of life and different opinions, different backgrounds, different pieces of education. And so I'm a large proponent that we need to have every sort of person, and that includes straight white men, but that also includes every variation thereupon. So it's not a complaint. It is it is recognizing that things can be better, things can be more diverse and inclusive. And I mean, a lot of the people that I've met at these camps and made great friends with, straight white men. I don't want them to not come anymore. I really look forward to seeing them every time I go, but I also look forward to connecting with other women and having that empowering moment of like, I see you succeeding in an industry that's not super welcoming to us. And one of the fantastic things about WordCamp Miami, which is my home camp, so I'm always going to be excited about that one. We had 52% of our speakers this year were women, which had never happened before in the history of WordCamps. So that's a problem, given that women are 50% of the population. If we have an accurate representation of what our population looks like, that just makes sense to me. So sorry if that hurt your feelings, but it's not a complaint. And I hope that straight white men recognize that it's an issue and help us to fix it, because it doesn't remove you from the equation. It includes you in the equation in helping other people, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, and the business world is so diverse. It's just a matter of making our networking events and everything kind of match what the reality is.
Yeah.
If you're in the online space, like there's just so many of us from different backgrounds. And I think it's just about recognizing that we all have a different perspective, and just, there's not just one way of thinking. So I really enjoy that they're making an effort to just be more inclusive with that. Yeah. Hi, Robin. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Sorry, Ryan, if you're targeted.
Yeah, he's hashtag introvert, hashtag targeted. Oh no.
Does anyone have any questions about WordCamps or Allie does speaking at WordCamps quite a bit. So if you want to, or is that something that you might be interested in? She may have some tips, tricks, advice.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point.
How did
I
you get
love this.
involved in WordCamp? Like, what made you decide to just go and like more involved in it than just hanging out and stuff?
So I used to intern at a local agency, and my boss was a speaker because he was just one of those type of people who was like, I just have to like, you know, be in as many places at once and like get lots of exposure. Like he was kind of one of those types of people where it didn't really, he wasn't super invested in like actually going to help people. He just wanted to put his name on it, you know. No offense to him, but that was definitely his goal. So he brought me along to take pictures of him to post on social media. Um, and so I remember going and just being like, wow, like all of these speakers are so amazing. Like I was so inspired by not only just like the skills and the information that they were sharing, but the confidence and like the camaraderie of it all. Like it was just a really, really amazing environment. Um, and so after leaving that agency, when the next WordCamp rolled around, I think I was on their mailing list or something, and so they put out a call for speakers, and I was like, oh, I wonder like if they would accept me if I applied, because I remember the first year that I went, they had this like 10-year-old kid as a speaker because he was an extremely talented developer. So I was kind of like, okay, if this kid can get in, you know what I mean? It showed me that it's not this super super duper like exclusive, like we only accept whatever. So it gave me a little bit of confidence to be able to apply. Um, and so I applied and I spoke for the first time in 2017, and then I spoke again in 2019. Um, and then I just have been hooked, and I spoke a couple times this year, and I have a couple left to go. Because technically, what I am is a speaker ambassador. So GoDaddy Pro, which is a popular hosting company, they pay for me to. They don't pay me, but they pay for me to go, and I talk about GoDaddy Pro, which is a product that I use and love. And so, kind of like in exchange for me talking about the product at camps, they pay for me to go and talk, which is like I can't explain how great that is and how much I love it. Um, Ryan asks, how long do WordCamps typically run for? I think you mentioned for a weekend. Yes, they are typically Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Some of them just do Saturday and Sunday, but usually there are some maybe like workshops, or maybe it's like a half day on Friday, and then it'll be Saturday and Sunday. I think that WordCamp US might go longer. There's a WordCamp US, there's WordCamp Europe, which I really, really hope to get to next year. And then there's also WordCamp Asia, which is new. And I think those ones are longer. I should know because I'm going. But yeah, typically it's just the 3 days. That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a very doable amount of time, I think.
Right?
You know, especially if it's local, because then you don't like have to really worry about like room and board or whatever.
Yeah. You're not like taking time off work. I mean, I guess you could take the Friday. But a lot of people don't go. If there is a Friday, a lot of people don't go. Like they'll just go to the Saturday and Sunday because it's just easier for travel. And that's, again, it's not like, oh, if you don't go to certain things, like what, like people don't care.
Seems really chill, which I enjoy because
it's so chill.
The high anxiety of networking events.
There's a thing called, jokingly, we call it hallway tracks, where people just hang out in the hallways and talk to each other about whatever. And a lot of people, that's where they get a lot of their value, is connecting with other people and sharing ideas and sharing thoughts in a way that's maybe you just don't learn well by sitting in a chair watching a presentation. You learn by talking to other people. So hallway tracks are definitely a thing, and it's such a like representation of how chill these conferences really are. Kendall is asking, are these the same as the local events that are listed on my dashboard? Came in a little late. No worries. So there's, for anyone who came in a little bit late, there are WordCamps, which are the big conferences, which take place over the weekend. And then there are local meetups, which are free. They're usually about 2 hours. And they're usually like maybe monthly or bi-monthly, whereas WordCamps like your WordCamp, like WordCamp Orlando or WordCamp New York, happens once per year. So the ones that you'll see in your WordPress dashboard, those are going to be your local ones. So let me see if I open up a site right now, if there is one.
I'll be honest, I always ignore those. Like I'm like,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
a lot of people do.
they do
I
put
don't
those on
blame
the dashboard.
I absolutely don't blame you for ignoring them. Oh no, don't log me out. But it's really cool when you see your meetup in the dashboard, because when you see that, everyone in the world sees that.
Yeah.
So I kind of freaked out the first time I spoke at a meetup and my name was in there. I was like, oh my gosh, like, what?
Yeah, you're famous now.
It was really weird. It was weird and cool. So yeah, like when I look in my dashboard right now, I see using the WordPress REST API, beginner tips for plugins and more in Davie, Florida, which is my local meetup, and then WordCamp US, which is in St. Louis. So it's showing me the next two that I'm going to, which is actually really freaky. But yeah, it should show you your local one, which if you tap on that, it should take you to the meetup page. Yeah, it'll take you to the meetup events page where you can RSVP or ask questions. And yeah, when I tap on that, my name is in there. That's so cool. Yeah, those are the meetups. Kendall says the US one in November is listed as well. I never knew what they were or the point, so I've ignored them. Wondering if the WordCamp presentations have to be only about how to use WP, develop, create. No. So again, for anybody who might be a little bit late, 100%, they're not all about development. They're not even all about WordPress. So is this presentation going to be available afterward?
It should be.
Okay, so in case you wanted to go back later and see the full, like I went into this in a lot more detail. You have different tracks, like different classrooms. So you will have development, but you'll also have marketing, design, branding. There was a content one recently where people talked about SEO and social media and things like that. I've spoken in a lot of business tracks, which are just specifically business focused. So if you're not a developer, if that's not your bag, you will always have an option of something to go to that is not development focused. Oh, bye, Robin.
Oh, thanks for joining us, Robin.
So Alison asks, where is the US one? So the US one is in St. Louis, and it's November 1st. I don't know. I have no information as to why it's in St. Louis. It's not always in St. Louis as far as I know. WordCamp US 2018. Where was it? It was in Nashville last year. So I have no insider information as to why they choose those locations. But that's where it is. Yeah. And if you can go, I can promise you it'll be worth it. Like the schedule for WordCamp US is available right now. Let me see. Yeah, if you go to 2019.us.wordcamp.org, it's a lot of dots, you can view the schedule. It is a $50 ticket. There are regular sessions. I'm not sure why they're called regular sessions. That's really weird. There's probably so many talks that it's hard to categorize them properly, but let's see. There's information. There's a talk on UX. There's a talk on contributing to WordPress without needing to know how to code. There's a talk on SEO. There's a talk on growing your meetup. So if you want to start one or grow one that you attend. Oh my gosh, there's a talk called A Mom, a Lesbian, and an Entrepreneur Walk into a WordCamp. I have no idea what that's about, but it sounds really interesting. So there's a ton of different types of topics that are not just WordPress related and not just developer related, to answer your question in a very roundabout way.
Yeah, and it might also just depend on the location. If you go to a really small one, there just might not be a diverse amount of topics because there's only like a few people speaking. So but that might be a great opportunity to start being involved. the smaller ones. I feel like the larger ones might be a little bit harder just because maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. And if you did go to the US, there's always a talk by Matt Mullenweg, who is the founder of WordPress. You might have seen his name recently because WordPress.org just bought Tumblr. And he's the guy who did that. So you'd be able to go and see him talk, which would be really awesome. Yay, Allison thinks she has a local meetup. Allison, what's your city? Where do you live? We can look it up right now and sign you up.
Yeah, looking too, if you're not already.
Yeah.
He's in Sioux Falls. I imagine there's something near there.
There's also something everyone called WordPress.tv, where you can watch talks from previous camps, which is really, really cool. Not all talks will make it onto WordPress TV. It depends on like if the technicality of stuff worked out properly and all of that. Let's see if any of my talks are on here. I don't think so, honestly. Nope, none of my talks are up here yet. But it's a good place to look around and kind of just get a feel for what the presentations are like.
Yeah, there's just so much content here. It's crazy.
There's a lot because there are WordCamps in virtually every country around the world. So you have ones in like all sorts of languages, and like it's a super, super dense area. Yeah, I would definitely recommend to explore and keep an eye on your dashboard for those meetups and see if there are any ones near you. Yeah. Are there any other questions?
While we're a little bit, like there's a delay, so I guess while we're waiting for maybe some last minute questions to come in, is there anything you want to plug or tell us about, or stage is yours?
Not really. I mean, I just really want people getting involved. Because I mean, like we touched on earlier, the community only gets better the more diverse and the more different kinds of backgrounds of people we have involved. Like once you have the same people talking at every camp, like the same people attending over and over, it's just like you don't get as much out of it. And I've already noticed that, having just been to like a handful. So I love people getting involved. I love people giving, because and also like developers have a certain perspective. But if we have people who really know branding or really know SEO or really know something else giving in their 2 cents, it just creates this much fuller view of what WordPress is supposed to be. And given that WordPress does fuel most of the internet, I believe that we as the WordPress community have a responsibility to put out the best product that we possibly can, and to make sure that it is inclusive and it keeps all sorts of people in mind. So it only starts when people are actually like involved. Do I have anything to plug? I mean, follow me on Twitter if you want. I have a few kind of things coming up that I can't really talk about, but if you're following me on Twitter, you'll hear about all of that. And that's also just where I start a lot of conversations. Like I like tweeting about stuff just to make people think, and to kind of like bank on that incendiary feeling that Twitter has to get conversations going. So my Twitter is Ali_Nimmons. It's just my name with an underscore in between. And yeah, I'd love to connect with anybody who has more questions, or we kind of touched for a brief second on like public speaking in general. Like if you're not down with public speaking, if that kind of freaks you out, I'd love to talk to you about that. I've been public speaking since I was 5. So I have kind of a leg up just by way of experience, but I believe everyone can learn how to do it and should learn how to do it. It's a crazy confidence booster. So yeah, just let's connect and let's talk. And
oops, I spelled your name wrong. Please don't judge me.
Oh my gosh, Megan. How long have we been friends? No, you spelled it right.
Apparently not long enough.
You spelled it right.
Did I? Okay. I've been talking to a lot of people, and everyone's names are spelled like.
Kendall wants to public speak more. Oh my gosh, Kendall, your local meetup is the perfect place to do it because it's a small crowd. Like my meetup is one of, I think, the larger ones, and we don't get more than like 20 people at a time. They're tiny. Yeah, local meetups are a great place to practice and work on that. And people will give you feedback. Like if you go up to one of the organizers or even one of the attendees and just be like, how did I do? How can I improve? Like, whatever, people will help you. I mean, I hope they will. If they don't, like, tell me and I'll do something about it. But yeah, please watch the first part of the presentation. I really dive into like what WordCamps actually are. Yeah, meetups are your gateway drug to WordCamps. So definitely try to get involved if you can.
Well, this was an awesome chat. We had a lot of people on today, so this is great. If no one has any questions, I guess we can end the presentation. Unless you have something more you want to talk about, Allie.
Not so much. I mean, yeah, this is just what I do is go to WordCamps. My actual job is I work at GiveWP, which is a donation form plugin for WordPress sites. So if you work at or work with a nonprofit, or if you're just accepting donations for like a crowdfunding thing or something like that, check out GiveWP. Message me about it if you have any questions. It's a really fantastic product. It's actually free until you start paying for more things, so it's something worth checking out. Yeah, that's basically it. Thank you so much to everyone who did contribute and ask questions and watched. I really appreciate connecting with all of you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. I'm glad I was able to get you on. I know it was a little last minute, so thanks for the early morning chat. So
for sure, anything for you.
All right. Well, I'll let you get back to your life. So thanks for joining us. And if you guys have questions, pop them in there, tag Allie, and she can respond to you when she gets a chance. So
awesome. Right. Bye.
Bye.